So here we saw Coulomb's law in scalar form. You can ask me a question then how is it going to look in the form of vector? Right? So why is it not a vector form? Because we never spoke about the directions associated. Right? So for this, we need to understand the concept of Coulomb's law in which form? Vector form. Right? So since I'm bringing in vectors into consideration, we will take the help of coordinate axis. Suppose I say there is a charge Q1 placed here and another charge Q2 that is placed here. Right. So from the origin, right, if I take this point to be A and this point to be B. Okay. So from this point, if I take the position of the point A as R1, right? So you know what is the position vector, right? Can someone tell me what is the position vector? Any vector whose initial point is origin. So any vector whose initial point is origin is said to be a position vector. So the position vector of A is R1. Similarly for B, let me call it as R2. Have I cleared in this one? Right. Now, if I join these two, if I draw a dotted line between these two charges, if I say the distance of separation is going to be the same R that we took in the previous case. But only thing is, we need to represent this R in terms of R1 and R2, depending on the direction of force. Now let's start using the logic. Okay. Now my question is, in this scenario, let's say both of them are like charges. So what is going to happen between them? Obviously, repulsion. Means the first charge will try to repel the second. In which direction? So this side. Right. The question is, the repulsion could have taken place like this also. It could have repelled it in this direction also. Right. It could have happened. But there will be only one direction because the object cannot have multiple directions at the same instant. So which one is right? Is this one right or this one right? Are you able to understand my question? So if you see the first force that I've drawn, let's say there is the repulsion taking place. If you see this line, it is acting along the line joining these two charges. Whereas in the second scenario, what did I do? I drew some random direction and I'm trying to say due to this direction, it is moving in this way. Means it is experiencing a force in this way. Is that right? So the answer is, the first point to be noted here is, since we are dealing with direction, electrostatic force always acts along. Can you complete the statement? Electrostatic force always acts along the line joining both the charges. That is the first point to be noted. How does it act? Force always acts along, completed, along the line joining both the charges. So I should remove this arrow mark also. So this will not come. Right. So this is going to be F. So this F is the one which I wrote it in the scalar form. The magnitude K Q1 Q2 divided by R square. But since I am giving an arrow mark here, I need to give a notation. Right. So can you tell me what is happening here? At this point, is the second charge experiencing the force due to one or the vice versa? Who is experiencing the force in this direction? The second is experiencing due to one or one due to two? Second due to one. So to this, what I will do is I'll subscript like this. It is F. I'll call it as F. What did I write? 2, 1. Okay. So it is F 2, 1. Similarly, the positive charge, this Q1 due to Q2 will experience force in which direction? This one. So this is F. You tell me what should be the notation. Right. Shall we make a note of it? So F21 represents what? force experienced by 2 due to 1. F12 will be force experienced by 1 due to, I hope this clear. It's simple. See, you can either use active voice or passive voice. Force experienced by 2 due to 1 or force exerted by 1 on 2, both are same. So if at all in a question they are trying to confuse you, don't get confused. So read it very carefully. Experience is 2 due to 1. If it is 1 due to 2 means what should you write? What should the word you need to change here? Instead of experience, you will say exerted. Force exerted by 1 on 2. Both mean the same. Okay. Very rare scenario that they will question ask. If at all they ask, you should be able to answer. Okay. This is there. And the next question is, I told you, we need to write this R in terms of R1 and R2. Right. For that, what I'll do is I'll borrow the idea of triangle law of vectors. You guys remember what it is? Can someone state it? What does triangle law of vectors state? If 2 vectors are considered along the sides of a triangle in order, then the closing side of the triangle will give you the resultant taken in the reverse form. Okay. So for those who don't know, observe if this point is O, A and B. Is it not forming a triangle? Right. So observe. OA is R1 in this direction. AB, I'm not giving any direction as of now. Okay. And OB is R2, it is fixed. And AB, I know it as R, that's it. Now see, I can, between A to B, I can either write AB vector or BA vector. If at all I take it as AB vector, then I need to take the arrow mark in this direction. So in this direction, which force is existing according to our diagram? It is F. The diagram, it is F21, right? So for F21, I need to see what is the subscript I need to give to R. Right? So what I'm doing is see. Now what triangle law states is, in a triangle, you need to look for the vectors which are continuous. So what do you mean by continuous? The ending point of the first vector will be the starting point of the second vector. So in this case, which one is happening? Tell me which are the 2 continuous vectors you are able to see. OA vector and AB vector, right? So OA vector and AB vector. So the triangle of vectors states the vector sum of the sides in order. OA vector plus AB vector is equal to the closing side, the third side of the triangle taken in the reverse order. How did I say it is reverse order? When do you say it is reverse order? Observe, these 2 vectors have the same starting point. These 2 vectors have the same ending point. So that's the one which is taken across. So I hope you will be able to identify which is continuous and which is opposite, right? So OA vector plus AB vector is, tell me, OB vector or BO vector? OB vector. What is OA vector? R1 vector plus what is AB vector? It's R. So as of now, I write it as R vector. Okay. Is equal to what is OB vector? R2 vector. So if I write R vector like this, then R vector will be equal to R2 vector minus R1 vector. Right. So whenever it is 2 minus 1, right, borrowing the idea from the concept of relative velocity, you write this number first and the one which is after the minus next. So R21 vector is R2 vector minus R1 vector. Am I clear with this? Right. Now I'm going to connect all the dots and write it. See, this is the direction of F21 vector, right? So at this point, I want to stress upon whenever I deal with vectors, right? First, I'll concentrate only on the magnitude. Then only I'll start taking my hit for direction. Okay. So F21, I didn't put any vector symbol on top of it. What should I write it? What does Coulomb's law and scalar form tell you? 1/4 epsilon naught Q1 into Q2. Here I have just taken the magnitudes. Remember, go ahead and put the modulus R square, right? If I put a vector symbol on top of it, to the magnitude, I need to add a unit vector. I need to add a unit vector. So what is the unit vector? What is the direction? Which vector is taking the direction of F21? It is R21. Observe, it is not R21 vector, rather it is R21. Guys, am I clear with this? Because there is a tricky part in this that I need to tell you. If you see in your textbook itself, they would have given it in two ways. Okay. So F21 vector is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught given 2 by R square into R21 cap. But remember, unit vector is equal to any vector divided by the magnitude of it. This is the basic definition of any vector. Okay. So taking the same idea, how should I write it? F21 vector will be equal to 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q1, Q2 divided by R square. Tell me, R21, that cap should be replaced with a vector symbol divided by magnitude of R21. But tell me logically, what is the magnitude of this distance? R. So I'll put it as R itself. So this R square will get multiplied with R, and what is that you are going to have? You will have 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1, Q2 divided by R cube in R1 vector. So this is where you need to be careful. Whenever, let's say this question comes in MCQ, right? And they say, they give this one. And in terms of R2 vector, what should be the denominator? It should not be most common mistake. Most of them think that it is R square in the denominator. What is it? R cube. So when should it be R cube? When R21 is in the form of vector. When should it be R square? When R21 is in the terms of unit vector. This is a very, very, very important point to be kept in your mind. Am I clear with this? Right? So first copy this, then we do for the next one. I want you all to observe one thing. You see a pattern here. F with the subscript of 2,1 has a unit vector with the subscript of 2,1. Right? So what is the next thing that we are supposed to do? It is going to be for F12. So logically, if I write F12 in the form of vector, then what will it be? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q1, Q2 by R square. If I write it, what should I write? R12 with a cap on top of it. Or if I write the same thing, if 12 in the form of vector, I'll write it as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q1, Q2 divided by R cube. If it is R12, the form of a vector, R12 vector. Right? It's as simple as, you know how to derive it already. Right? What is the only change we need to do to this diagram? So you need to change the arrow mark. Instead of AB vector, you will write it as BA vector. Then which two vectors will become continuous? OB and BA will become continuous. OA will be the closing sign. Can you guys do that part? I mean, not now, like you know to do it, right? So once you finish the derivation, you can always write it similarly. Similarly, F1 vector will be the opposite.